Hello friends, welcome to EPG Pathshala. I am Dr. Manish Shrestha, working as Assistant Professor at Haryana School of Business, GJ University of Science and Technology, Hisar. Today we are going to discuss about the topic performance management process. Before starting the discussion, let's have a look at the contents. The discussion will start with the introduction about performance, followed by characteristics of performance management process, performance planning, performance managing, performance appraisal, performance monitoring, followed by the summary. The learning objectives of today's lecture is to understand the essentials of performance management process and to get familiar with the steps involved in performance management process. Performance management in any organization strives to develop an expected level of performance by an employee. A smooth communication between managers and employees measures actual performance against preset standards. In the process of performance management, both individual and organizational goals are expected to be achieved. Whether an organization is doing fine totally depends on the performance of its human components. In relation to performance, organizations generally introduce a system that takes care of attainment of organizational goals through continuously keeping a check on the performance of employees. All the employees in the organization need to perform at the desired level of expectation. Any performance which is not in accordance with the organizational culture, values and goals seeks attention. Contribution of performance management in overall human resource development is unquestionable. The field of performance management is of interest of academicians as well as practitioners. An organization always banks upon its people to create a difference from competition. The sustainability of an organization is dependent on the competence level of its manpower. The rapid changes in corporate scenario are making these competencies obsolete at a faster pace, which in turn makes them less productive. Nowadays, management of employee performance is not just an end of the year affair. Performance management is demanding continuous and throughout the year effort of management and employees. Performance management process is now more forward oriented as compared to earlier. Earlier, it was end of the year annual appraisal format. Another shift in this approach is moving from mere performance based appraisal with no heart to more comprehensive performance management. Today, performance management focus on clear-cut creation of framework that aligns the organizational objectives with expected performance standards, conveying employees what is expected and how to get it, measuring performances and reward it suitably. A performance management process aims at improving performance at individual and organizational level. Performance management is a set of processes to create shared vision about what is to be achieved and how it is to be achieved, and eventually increasing the overall performance level at individual and organizational level. An effective performance management process focuses on aligning your manpower, developing competencies, enhancing employee performance and producing better business results. Prior to adopting performance management process for an organization, there exists some preconditions that need to be fulfilled. One of the preconditions is to set other human resource practices of the organization to adjust as per the performance management process requirements. These human resource practices could be related to job description and specification, detailed induction program, useful training and effective administration, and development of conducive work environment. High level of commitment from the top management is essential to place these human resource practices at the right spot. The commitment of top management must be visible in all formal and informal communications. Top management showing concerns for poor performance or recognition to excellent results are the examples of their commitment. If the required human resource practices are not in place, it would hamper the overall effectiveness of performance management process. Another prerequisite for introduction of performance management process is that it should be compatible to the strategic intent and culture of the organization. There are few characteristics of performance management process that needs to be understood. A performance management process strives for overall growth for the individuals as well as organizations through promoting a culture of continuous assistance, timely feedback and acknowledgement of efforts, through establishing such targets that are challenging enough to motivate the people involved in the improvement of performance, through providing a room for individual professional development through enhancement of skills and competencies, by inculcating a culture that strengthens the thought of due recognition of efforts and adequacy of rewards based on self-assessment, through time-based evaluation of performance and taking a cue to set future performance expectations, and finally by establishing a communication mechanism that enables the free flow of information about performance related issues between managers and the employees. There are few guiding principles that could be followed by an organization to inculcate a performance management process. These guiding principles are connecting individual and organizational goals, joint effort of managers and employees for setting goals and reviewing performance, applying the performance management process as a regular process, setting future performance on the basis of past results, generating a framework for smooth communication between managers and employees, monitoring and measuring of when and how of performance, development of proper review mechanism to provide positive reinforcement and constructive suggestions, and finally the identification of performance gaps and filling those gaps with counseling and training. In order to summarize all the activities involved in a performance management, we could divide the process into various phases, namely performance planning, performance managing, performance appraisal and performance monitoring. To start with performance planning, it is considered as the primary phase of the performance management process. In every organization, the management carries appraisal of performance as a routine matter. This activity is generally performed to provide financial increments to the employees, and these increments are based on their performance during the assessment period. Actually, the effectiveness of this routine activity could be increased manifold if the proper planning is done. The planning is done to increase the performance of the employees. A proper performance planning improves the outcome of performance appraisals for organizations as well as employees. Performance planning generally starts with defining goals of the organization and then narrows it down to group and individual level. Once the goals for everyone are in place, then performance planning lay down a framework to channelize all efforts to achieve these goals. Clearly, a clarity about individual performance goals help an individual to contribute towards achievement of organizational goals. As it is a planning activity, it must be carried out at the beginning of performance assessment period. Performance planning comprises all the activities that explain what vital tasks an employee has to do and how an employee performs them. It also discusses about the performance standards and skills of the employees. Effective performance planning ensures that the outcome of employees' efforts must be of quality, maintain consistency, and meets the time-related deadlines. Performance planning aims at achieving fundamental objectives of performance management process. It emphasizes on the smooth flow of communication between the managers and the employees. The smooth communication helps in exchange of vital information on a regular basis. The information could be instructions related to tasks to be performed for improved performance. Communication is also related to clarification about job responsibilities and performance standards. It improves performance through setting challenging performance targets to achieve organizational goals. It encourages both individuals and teams to think, feel, and breathe about continuous improvement in performance and productivity. Performance planning focuses on providing opportunities toward individual growth and career development. Recognizing individual performance is a clear indication towards development objective of performance management. There are few steps for development of performance plan at individual level. The primary step is to review organizational goals in order to connect expected results in terms of magnitude, worth, expenditure, or timeliness of performance. Creation of organizational goals is part of strategic level planning. These need to be converted into results and changes from job to job. The results could be easily observable in the form of manufacturing a product or providing a service or any other form depending upon the nature of activity. The next step is to specify desired results. The results are dependent on the context of activities performed. Once both the goals are aligned, it's time for priority setting. For all performance actions and goals, priority is set both subjectively and objectively. A weight is assigned to each goal, sub-goal, and performance activity. It provides a clear picture to all parties involved about what is most important and requires immediate attention. Next step involves identification of performance measures. All the performance could be measured in terms of quantity, quality, timeliness, cost, and newness. Identification of performance standards is the next step of performance planning. Performance standards act as a benchmark against which actual performance is measured. These standards provide a basis to accurately identify whether the results meet expectations or not. And the last stage of development of performance plan puts stress on documentation of the plan. These documented plans specifically state about expected results, way of measurement, and performance standards. Performance managing. Managing performance is considered as a challenging task as it involves the presence of people. Despite of challenges, performance managing is an activity that has to be performed throughout the year. It is the process of working in direction of expectation that are set during the performance planning stage. A periodic assessment is done on all performance related activities by the managers. The performance here is to check any deviation of performance from the pre-decided expectation. A positive feedback is provided for a good performance and a constructive feedback is provided for the employee if the performance needs improvement. Performance managing is stated as a process to analyze the ongoing performance in the light of pre-decided performance expectations, providing both positive and constructive feedback, highlighting gaps of performance and helps to remove them from enhanced performance. Performance managing is responsible to set the tone of employee activities in the direction of expected performance. It creates an alignment between expectations and efforts. Periodic assessment helps the employees in timely improvement of their performance. Performance managing also keeps the employees on track in terms of regularly meeting the performance standards. Performance managing is important for performance planning process as it highlights the performance gaps on a regular basis, and in order to fill the gaps, employees are able to enhance their skills and competencies. Through performance managing, the employees are in a position to regularly conduct a self-assessment of their performance. Timely correction of deviations in performance improves the overall contribution of employees, giving them a greater sense of achievement. Performance managing helps the organization in optimizing its resources for improved performance. The process of performance managing could be understood in a phase-wise manner. In the first step of performance managing process, an understanding is developed towards contributors of performance. A list of factors influencing performance in a manner is created and effort is made on managing them towards improvement in performance. Information regarding the progress of efforts in meeting performance expectation is provided to managers. All the negative influences are considered and a suggestion is provided for managing them. Next step is to involve acknowledgement of efforts of employees towards performance improvement. Employees are encouraged and recognized for their positive efforts. A proper recognition for every good performance establishes a sense of commitment among the employees and motivates them to further improve their performance. The third step focuses on the fact that it is difficult to deliver expected performance every time by everyone. When the employees fail to perform up to the mark, the manager provides help in terms of counseling or training in order to remove any deficiency in the performance. Here the manager also tries to identify about the cause of poor performance. Whether the poor performance is attributed to lack of proper support from the organization or it is a resultant of personal issues like lack of skill or concentration. Under the final step of performance managing, the manager charts out a plan for improvement for employees. It is also suggested that since it is a joint responsibility, an employee should also take initiative to propose an improvement plan. A list of resources in terms of methods, techniques and tools should be considered for proper execution of improvement plan. Broadly, performance managing involves providing progress of performance related information by employees to managers, identification of factors hindering the performance of an employee, and reporting of final performance to the managers in context of achievement of expected performance level. Performance appraisal. The third component of performance management process is performance appraisal. Performance in an organization is directly related to its employees. If the employees are performing well, the organization would achieve its objectives. but the performances of all the employees are not same. Two different people will perform differently on a same assigned job under a given circumstance. The variation occurs due to difference in various factors like psychographic, demographic and physiology. The difference generates a need to go for certain evaluation mechanism for measuring the performance of an employee. In order to ascertain whether the employees are working effectively and efficiently, evaluation of their work performances is must. Such evaluation constitutes performance appraisal system. Through performance appraisal, we can assess the productivity, effectiveness, quality and timeliness of an employee's output. If an employee is found good on the above criteria of performance measurement, then we can tag him as a good performer. Performance appraisal evaluates the performance of an employee on the basis of their actual performance against the preset benchmarks and conveys the outcome of evaluation to him. Performance appraisal of employees is useful to improve the effectiveness of performance management system in more than one ways. Performance appraisal provides a basis to take various manpower related decisions such as recruitment, promotion, succession planning. It enables identification of training requirement of an individual. It creates an environment of fairness and justice in the organization. It provides input to the employee to self-assessment of efforts. It removes the communication gap between managers and employees. Both the parties get each other's point of view related to outcome of efforts. It provides a strong basis to relate results with rewards. It helps in reassigning of jobs as per the capability of an employee, and it reduces grievances in the organization. An organization is free to devise its own appraisal mechanism, and no two organizations follow the same procedure. In a broader sense, every performance appraisal process follows certain basic steps as initially, the purpose of appraisal is determined for which appraisal system is used. Generally, the performance appraisal is conducted for two broad purposes, namely evaluation and improvement. If the input of appraisal is used for promotion or rewards, then it will fall under evaluative purpose. On the contrary, usage of appraisal input for improving the performance of an employee, it serves the improvement purpose. Once the purpose of performance appraisal is clear, a suitable technique is identified to conduct the appraisal. Choice of technique depends upon the context in which it is being used. Choosing an inappropriate technique might result poor appraisal and eventual dissatisfaction among employees. It is generally suggested to use a technique on which managers and employees give their consent. Balanced scorecards, management by objectives, 360-degree appraisal are few of the popular performance appraisal techniques. Just like a suitable technique to appraise, it is equally important to identify an appropriate appraiser. An appraiser must be aware about the philosophy of the organization and competent enough to understand and conduct a proper appraisal. The manager must be known for the fairness and justice. An appraisal by competent manager is always taken positively by the employees. Although appraisers are chosen carefully, still there is a need to train them in order to serve the purpose of the whole activity. Training should be provided to upgrade the appraisers about newer techniques to appraise and their usage. On the same grounds, employees should also be trained. Their training should relate to expected behaviors during the period of appraisal. A cooperative employee makes the whole system work correctly and faster. After the training of managers and employees, required documents related to appraisal system are forwarded. These documents are generally appraisal forms and related guidelines. The forms required employees to mention their achievements, underperformances on the basis of self-assessment. It also incorporates support required to further improve the performance. Support could be training related or skill development related. The form, complete in all aspects, is returned to the manager for further processing. The manager evaluates the performance of an employee and assigns some ranking or score for the performance. Then he marks his observation and then discuss it with the higher authority for further review. Then the comments of review officer are noted. Once the review is complete, it is communicated to the respective employees for their observations and comments. After agreement by both the parties, the performance appraisal information is used as an input to business intelligence system. Performance monitoring. It is the final component of an ongoing performance management process. It is the process of making correct and quantifiable observations based on the comparison of actual and expected outcomes of performance as mentioned in the performance appraisal, with a purpose to improve the performance of employees. It accommodates the fulfillment of learning and training requirements as highlighted during the performance appraisal. Performance monitoring allows assigning improved methods and techniques for delivering performance. It also permits to redefine the performance criteria to be used as a performance standard. And finally, it allows accommodating necessary changes in the system arising due to changing business scenario. The process of monitoring involves identification of gaps in planned and actual performance, thoroughly discuss and develop improvement plan, and demands employee commitment in terms of adherence to incorporating agreed upon performance improvement steps. Let's summarize the discussion. The sustainability of an organization is dependent on the competence level of its manpower. Performance management is a set of processes to create shared vision about what is to be achieved and how it is to be achieved, and eventually increasing the overall performance level at individual and organizational level. An effective performance management process focuses on aligning your manpower, developing competencies, enhancing employee performance, and producing better results. Performance management process aims at promoting a culture of continuous assistance, timely feedback, and acknowledgement of efforts. It provides a room for individual professional development through enhancement of skills and competencies. In order to summarize all the activities involved in a performance management, we could divide the process into various phases, namely performance planning, performance managing, performance appraisal, and performance monitoring. Performance planning comprises all the activities that explain what vital task an employee has to do and how an employee performs them. It also discusses about the performance standards and skills of employees. Effective performance planning ensures the outcome of employees' efforts must be of quality, maintain consistency, and meets the time-related deadlines. Performance managing is stated as a process to analyze the ongoing performance in the light of pre-decided performance expectations, provide both positive and constructive feedback, highlight gaps of performance, and helps to remove them for enhanced performance. Performance appraisal evaluates the employee on the basis of their actual performance against the preset benchmarks and conveys the outcome of the evaluation to him. Performance monitoring is the process of making correct and quantifiable observation based on the comparison of actual and expected outcomes of performance as mentioned in the performance appraisal with a purpose to improve the performance of employees. Happy learning.